Now, if I'm buying a house, what do I want to do? What do I want to look for? Well, you're going to have the opportunity under the standard purchase and sale agreement that's used by almost everybody to inspect the house. And as a matter of fact, that's what this is all about. Because when you sign a contract to buy a house on this particular form, you buy it as is, subject to inspection rights. And you haven't bought it until you waive your right to do the inspection. The more careful you are in doing your own inspection, and the better the inspection performed by any professional home inspector that you hire to do the inspection, the better off you will be. There are some very simple things that you should think about doing. Open and close all the doors. See if when the doors are open, they close by themselves. That will mean if they do, that something is out of plumb and out of whack, which is not a good idea. Open and close all the windows. Sometimes you will find that they won't open and close easily. You would not like that once you have moved in. And it is perfectly legitimate for you to ask the sellers to fix things like that. You want to be very suspicious about plumbing. Flush all the toilets. Don't just walk away after you flush the toilets. Listen carefully and make sure the water turns off when it's supposed to and they don't keep running. Open and close all the faucets. Play with the faucets if they have little buttons on them to make them spray or foam or whatever they might do. Do all the normal things you would do when you live in the house and the things that would irritate you if they didn't work very well if you lived in your own house. Take your time. If the seller has nothing to hide, the seller will be okay with it. A couple of examples here. I've run across situations in which people selling houses show the house with the windows open all the way, put out the glade, spray around, and oh, house looks beautiful, smells great. Then they move out. A week later you move in, the windows may have been closed, maybe it's warm outside, and the house stinks like high heaven. Well, sellers have probably pulled a fast one on you. There's mold growing someplace in the house, and you will probably come across it pretty quickly. Then what do you do? Well, that's a difficult question. You may even have a litigation situation on your hands. You may want to give the house back. That is very difficult to do. So you have to be very, very careful when you're buying that you do everything reasonably possible to make sure that the house doesn't have any mold in it. Water stains are an indication of mold. Smell, again, is an indication that there may be mold. Just be careful. If you're buying an older house, going back, say, maybe to the early 80s or 70s, then you've got to snoop around about this. Slab cracks can be underneath carpet. Hard to keep them hidden underneath tile because the tile will crack where the slab cracks. They sometimes can be hidden under parquet flooring because the flooring may sit upon some sort of membrane that will disguise the crack. You want to go outside and look around the perimeter of the house. Look underneath the bottom of the stucco. The bottom of the stucco is something called a weep screed that lets the water drain out. First thing you want to look at is whether the weep screed, the bottom of the stucco, is above the dirt. Can you see the stem wall, or the footing, more commonly known as that, below the stucco? If you can see it, that's good. Look at what you can see, the concrete that you can see under the stucco. See if there are any cracks in them. Sometimes you may find maybe a 1/2 inch or a 3/4 of an inch crack that you can see from the outside of the house. That gap is going inside the house and it's going somewhere. Slab cracks can be very destructive and they cost an awful lot of money to fix if they're serious. Another thing you might want to look at if you're buying an older house that has a fireplace that's on the outside of the house, in other words, it sticks out and brick or something like that, you might want to look at that very carefully to make sure that the brickwork hasn't separated, or that there are gaps between the fireplace housing and the side of the house, because there may be an opportunity for water intrusion there and something might need to be repaired. Inside the house it's the same deal. Sometimes with older fireplaces, the fireplace leaks when it rains. So permits, non-permitted alterations to the house. So if you're looking at a house that obviously has been added onto, there's a new room or something, or what used to be maybe an outdoor patio has been enclosed into an enclosed room, go down to the building department and see if you find a permit. And if you don't find a permit, well, that's trouble, because the city will probably require a lot of invasive, destructive work in order to find out whether there's anything wrong with it and further work to fix it. Let's take a further look at what happens if you find things that you want repaired and you ask the seller to repair them for you. From the buyer's point of view, if you ask for a lot of things, the seller is not going to want to do them. You should be prepared for that. Remember, if you're buying a used house, it's a used house and it's not perfect. People who ask for every single little thing they can think of to be fixed when they're buying a house will often queer the deal and they will have to go look elsewhere. Now, let's say you've gotten through all that and you've asked for some repairs and the seller has agreed to do the repairs, and you will waive at that point in time your inspection rights. You'll sign a piece of paper or say something that says, I'm satisfied in the condition of the house. How about coming down to the wire and actually closing the transaction? Now, what does closing mean? Closing is a term that originates in the legal industry, and closing means that the escrow holder has everything needed to finalize the transaction and record the deed. The escrow holder is like the person with the big bowl into which people put the things that are needed to finish the deal. The seller puts the deed. The buyer puts the proceeds of his mortgage and anything else that might be needed. And then when the escrow holder says, well, I've got everything I need, the escrow holder sends the money to the seller, records the deed from the seller to the buyer, and asks the previous lender for a reconveyance of the deed of trust. And then it closes. If you get into any kind of problems or issues when you're buying or selling a house, give us a call. We'd be glad to meet with you. We offer a free half-hour consultation, and you'd be surprised how much we can do in half an hour. And if we can't get it all done in half an hour, we will take care of you and get it done right. I'm Stan Prowse. I'm looking forward to meeting you.